Hey everyone, this is Luis Rivera here, and I just want to talk to you about the 50mm lens and the 35mm lens. What is the difference, and which one should you get if you are in the market for a prime lens itself? So many of you guys who own a Nikon comes pretty much with a standard 18 to 55mm lens, which is great and actually takes amazing shots for just if you're starting out. Now, most of you won't know though if it's the DX format or the FX format. And DX is a cropped sensor format where it's like 1.5 times, cropped sensors. Now the FX, it's usually more on the lines of a full frame kind of camera, and you won't really find those unless you own the D750, the D810, the D610, the D5, and the D4S. So usually those are more full frame cameras, but again, it's not really it is a difference, but not something that you wouldn't notice right away until you start getting more into cameras and more into photography itself. So with that being said, most likely if you own a Nikon camera and it's not the ones that I mentioned, then you most likely have a DX format, which is fine. And again, you won't really notice until you start messing with full frame DSLR cameras. With using a 24mm lens, you would be actually getting like approximately 36mm view. So, and then the same way it goes with a 50mm lens, would actually equal to 75mm like view. So again, these are things you won't really notice until you start getting to play around and start messing with other cameras and seeing how they work and how their sizes are. But most likely until you start messing with it, you will still get great, amazing shots. Now the advantages of owning a DX format camera is that you can use FX lenses or you can use DXs. And again, you won't see nothing different because it's on a DX crop sensor camera. Now if you're using an FX and using an FX lens, then you still get the full frame. But if you're using the DX lens, then you will get the crop censored size with still using FX camera. So that's just the difference between the two. Just a little fun fact. But even though, with that being said, the 35mm you can use like for street photography for bigger, wider angle views, versus the 50, you're more restricted, more narrow, and they still do both a great job, but it depends on what you want to do. If you're in a tight room, then you want to use the 35. If you're in an outside space and you want to get a closer look, then use the 50. They're both great lenses. They don't have no issues whatsoever. It just depends on what you want to use it for. They both have great bokeh effects. It's like 1.8 f-stop up to 1.8. But anyways, I actually want to talk to you guys about the lenses, not the camera sensors or whatever else that's going on with these cameras. So I'm actually using an older model with the 50mm lens. It's actually a D format, which is like, it's a manual focus. You'll see on a 35mm lens, the G format that has the whole autofocus or manual focus as well. One has the motor, one doesn't. The great thing about one of the advantages of using the older models is that they come cheaper and they still give you a great effect when you're trying to use the bokeh or to an f-stop of 1.8, which lets a lot more light in. Same goes with 35. It's just that this one has a motorized where you can autofocus if you do want to go that route. That's basically the difference. But I still wanted to show you guys that it is possible and that you can use, older lenses on newer cameras, depending on what it is and what you're trying to use it for. Now, whether to find out if your lens is a DX or not, it will pretty much say in bold print Nikon DX. And if it's not a DX lens, it would also, you won't see the DX format at all. So it's just depending on preference, what you want. Do you want a newer model? Do you want older models? Are you afraid that's not going to mount to your camera? Again, this is just all preferences. Now, I don't know about you, but I try to go cheaper and, still do the same job versus something that's newer, but it's a lot more expensive. So I mean, I'm trying to save you guys money, but again, it all comes down to preference. What do you guys want to do with that? So now that the price and the format of the camera is all out of the way, and which one are you looking for? Actually, I have a little experiment for you guys to do. So most of you guys get a camera with 18 to 55 millimeter lens, just basic standard lens, you know, which is great all around. Don't get me wrong, I still use it all the time. There's two settings that I would like you guys to try, and one is a 35 millimeter lens. And then just don't do anything else, but just, you know, if you want to blur it a little bit or focus it a little bit, that's fine. But I would encourage you to use it there for a couple hours, just only nothing but 35. And don't try to cheat yourself. Just try to use it 35 and take a couple shots. Tell me what you think. Do you think it's actually better? Do you think it's, you know, is that something that you need more? Do you need more zoom? Again, try that. And then the same with the 50. Or put it to a distance of 50 millimeters. Do the same thing. Just mess only but the focus ring of just trying to focus it or blur it, you know, whatever the case may be, but don't change the distance. Just try it on 50. Try it for a couple hours as well. See if you like that better. That would give you a general idea of using a prime lens of the 35 or the 55, the 35 or the 50 millimeter lens to see which one you would actually prefer in the long run. I used that several times. I used that method because I didn't know what I wanted to get. So I started with the 50 and I thought the 50 was going to do me justice on everything. Turns out that I was in tight rooms and I couldn't get the shots I wanted because since again we were on a DX sensor camera, it was actually using like a 75 millimeter view. So again, it's all about preferences. But then I was outside doing some shots, and then the 50 worked great, and I loved it. Now later on in the future, I got a 35 prime lens just because again, I try to find what's on sale and try to wait the right times and save my pennies. And by the time you know it, bam, I got myself a 35. And I tend to use the 35 more because in tight rooms, I can actually use where I want to get a group shot, family events, and also, you know, other situations where I want to use the 35 and get my shots, you know, more of a wider view. Now with that being said, here I have some samples. Right now my first sample would be the wheelbarrow, taking some footage here and taking some pictures and see what you guys think versus zoom view of a 50 or the 35. The good thing about this is that this was all set on the tripod. The only thing that I changed was the lens, the 35, and I also switched to the 50. Can you tell the difference? Now another view, I have this tree right here, and we have this random, you know, red tree, which looks nice, very beautiful. Ooh, 50 millimeter. On the 35 millimeter, now there's another sample right there. Here we have these dandelions. Same principle, the 35. And here we have the 50. I'll post some other several samples as we go along, but I mean, it's all, you know, seeing what kind of view you're wanting to get or what you're wanting to achieve. And that goes for night shots. We have this fire display right here at the 35. And the same deal goes for the 50. Well, hopefully guys, I didn't bore you guys too much with this comparison between the 35 and the 50. Many of you trying to find out which one is your desired. Hopefully you have come to a decision which one do you like to purchase. Is it the 35 or is it the 50? Personally, I have both because I use for different situations, different jobs. Now, remember, the older lens is going to be with the D format, which could be FX, and they might be cheaper, yet they might be just only manual focus. Now, with the newer models, like the G models, they have that motorized autofocus. So keep that in mind. Also keep that in mind with the DX and the FX cameras. Most likely you'll get a DX starting out, but hey, they're not bad, they're great. Please tell me guys in the description below which ones you guys prefer, the 35 or the 50. Personally myself, I've worked with DXs. I played around with FX, but I don't know, I guess since I've been brought up with the DX, that's all I've known so far. I guess I tend to use that instead of the FX, which isn't bad. If you guys used FX, then great. Like I said, I'm not being sponsored by anybody, affiliated by anybody. Just this is all on my own accord with the reviews that I bought over time, and I just wanted to share with you guys what I personally thought with the 35 and the 50mm lens. So I just want to give a shout out to Petey Reamz for helping me with my videos as far as the music goes. Great music, keep it up. Like I said, great stuff. Hope to see more. Kyle Grindulo, I'm not sure if I'm not saying it right. I'm not sure. Like I said, thank you for the shout out on your video. It means a lot to me. Again, I hope you enjoy it. And for everyone, if you, like I said, what do you guys would like to see more in the future? You know, the 35, the 50. You know, tell me a story maybe in the comments. Let me know what you guys used in the past and what works best for you. So, guys, this is Luis Rivera, and thanks for watching.